The mystery of experience. Life is a mystery that has been misrepresented by separation. This separation was caused by differences derived through the language of definition and naming. Experience is mysterious because it never separates itself. It remains to be a mystery. The mystery of experience has nothing to prove, nowhere to arrive, and no identity to claim. There is no edge where it begins, no boundary where it ends, no position from which it can be observed. Any attempt to locate it already occurs within it. Any attempt to define it becomes a part of it. Nothing stands outside experience to confirm what it is. This is not because experience is hidden. It is because nothing is divided. Mystery does not mean unknown. Mystery has no meaning. It remains undivided. Difference does not appear in experience. Difference is imposed upon it. Difference is not discovered in the world. It is declared through orientation. The moment something is set apart, this from that, here from there, subject from object, difference has been installed. With difference comes comparison. With comparison comes judgment. With judgment comes identity. Experience itself does none of this. What moves does not announce itself as separate from what it moves within. What changes does not pause to mark a difference. The function of experience is to produce variety, not difference. Variety is seamless. Difference is a cut, a slice of the whole. This cut is subtle. It arrives quietly, distinguishes clarity. However, within the mystery of experience, there is no clarity. A mystery remains as a mystery and facilitates an authentic experience, not a defined experience which has been separated and named, only felt. Identity is the stabilization of difference. Once difference is declared, something must occupy one side of it. That occupation becomes identity. Identity is not a thing. It is a stance and a posture that requires protection. It is the insistence on position. It requires contrast to persist. Without difference, identity dissolves. This is why identity multiplies into self, into other, into mind, body, human, nature, creator, creation, God, and world. Each preserves the cut. Each protects orientation. Nature does not participate in this. A river does not know it is separate from the land it passes through. A tree does not distinguish itself from the soil, the rain, or the air. An animal does not pause to perceive itself as an entity navigating an environment. Function unfolds without distinction. Nature is before us as a one happening. Nothing in nature introduces difference, and nothing suffers from being included. Coherence does not require identity. Function does not require perception, and movement does not require explanation. Nature doesn't notice a mystery because it never creates the conditions under which a mystery would need to be noticed. Humans do. Language is where the turn happens because words do not move. They reference, they define, they name, and they create difference. They isolate what is referenced, lift it out of continuity, and hold it still. In doing so, they introduce containment. Once containment appears, difference becomes durable. Once difference becomes durable, identity becomes necessary. Language does not describe reality. It reorganizes orientation. It changes experience into naming and framing. It is not a moral claim. It is a functional one. Words are not wrong. They are chosen. They are containing. Perception, as humans use the term, is driven by identity. It presumes a perceiver and a perceived. It presumes distance between this and that. It presumes selection, but the function of experience does not operate this way. A white blood cell does not perceive a threat and then choose how to respond. It functions coherently, without distinction, without deliberation, and without identity. A white blood cell experiences the mystery of function. What is often called true perception is not perception at all. It is registration. It is direct, unmediated participation in motion. Registration does not compare. It does not judge. It does not extract meaning. It simply occurs. Mystery lives here, not as an object, not as depth, not as a truth to be revealed, but as uncontained and continual motion. Mystery has no observer, no identity, no boundary. It cannot be held because it is not separate from what is happening. It cannot be approached because there is no distance. It cannot be lost because it is never possessed. Awe is what arises when registration occurs without the imposition of difference. Awe is what is felt when identity loosens its grip. Voyager 1, a machine launched away from Earth, crossing planetary boundaries, is often described as humanity's greatest act of exploration. We should be in awe of its travels. It exited the heliosphere over 13 years ago and is approximately 15 billion miles from Earth, traveling at 38,000 miles per hour. Interaction with Voyager 1 has become weaker. Signal has thinned, and certainty continues to decay. Its distances are calculated, its velocities are tracked, and its milestones are celebrated. But meaning is assigned, and identity is reinforced. We went farther. We reached beyond. We explored the unknown. We do not allow Voyager 1 to navigate the mystery. We perceive it to navigate difference. Different coordinates, different vectors, different radiation gradients, and different signal delay. Everything about Voyager is framed in relation to separation, here and there, before and after, inside and outside. Exploration depends on difference. Without difference, there's nowhere to go. Yet every calculation about Voyager's distance, speed, and position occurs entirely within experience, and experience itself is never addressed because we refuse to acknowledge the mystery that we experience. Voyager has not left experience. It cannot, and no probe ever does. The mystery is not behind the heliopause. The mystery is not in interstellar space. The mystery is not what Voyager may encounter. The mystery is that all of this, space, distance, movement, measurement, appears without separation from what is happening. And this is ignored, not because it's subtle, but because it offers no identity to defend. Voyager is used to protect identity by extending it outward. Mystery does not offer an extension, so mystery is passed over. Functionality tells the same story more quietly. Breathing happens, digestion happens, circulation happens, reflex happens, healing happens. None of these distinguish themselves. None of them announce boundaries. None of them operate as separate agents. They are not different from one another in operation. They're different only when named. Breathing becomes respiratory system. Movement becomes muscular system. Signaling becomes nervous system. Filtration becomes immune system. Language carves faculties out of seamless function and treats them as distinct operations. But nothing in the body functions this way. The body functions as one system, but brain and body have been separated, although there is never a body existing without a brain, and vice versa. There is no moment where breathing is not circulating, no point where sensation is not movement, no boundary where perception hands off to response. Functionality is unified motion, one happening expressed without difference. Mystery does not sit behind these faculties. Mystery expresses itself as the functionality of faculty, not as parts, not as systems, not as mechanisms, as continuity without identity. What are called faculties are not separate abilities. They are language's attempt to track function by breaking it into differences it can manage. Seeing is not different from hearing. Thinking is not different from feeling. Action is not different from perception. Those differences are linguistic conveniences, not operational facts. Mystery is not what these faculties point toward. Mystery is what moves as them without distinction. This is why mystery is consistently unnoticed, not because it is abstract, not because it is hidden, not because it is erased, but because it never interrupts function. Identity requires interruption. Difference requires pause. Meaning requires contrast. Mystery does none of this. It expresses itself as flawless continuity, and continuity does not announce itself. So, exploration looks outward. Explanation looks inward. Identity looks everywhere except where nothing is divided. Voyager 1 continues its trajectory. The body continues its functions. Nature continues its coherence. Nothing waits for mystery to be recognized. The mystery does not reward attention. It does not respond to belief. It does not deepen with insight. It remains what is already happening, expressed as motion, function, faculty, before any of it is named and unaffected by every name that follows. Distance travels far. Identity builds monuments. Mystery stays where it always was, not behind, not beyond, not within, undivided. God is the most refined form of difference. God is invoked as unity while preserving separation. God is named, positioned, spoken of, and related to. Even when declared infinite or all encompassing, God remains an identity, something distinguished from what recognizes it. This is not a failure of theology, it is a structural inevitability. Anything that can be addressed is already separate. God does not dissolve difference, God stabilizes it at the highest level. Consciousness performs the same function under a different name. It becomes the witness, the field, and the container. Experience is said to occur within it, but nothing in experience reports entering consciousness. Consciousness is inferred after the fact, constructed to preserve an observer when identity is threatened. Mystery requires no witness. Identity does. Time completes the illusion. Time stretches difference into sequence and calls it structure. Past and future are carved from continuity. Identity migrates along the timeline, securing itself with memory and anticipation. But experience never appears in time. Time appears in experience. Clocks measure nothing outside experience. Calendars organize nothing beyond it. Duration is not a feature of what is happening. It is an overlay used to preserve continuity of identity. The mystery of experience is not overlooked. It is never framed. Once a difference is introduced, attention is redirected toward objects, meanings, goals, and explanations. Mystery does not compete. It does not signal. It does not announce itself as important. There is nothing there to notice. And so it remains not hidden, not sacred, not profound, simply undivided. Nothing needs to be done about this. Identity continues. Language continues. Difference continues. The world does not collapse. Nature does not falter. Experience does not change. What changes is only the insistence that something is missing. Nothing is. The mystery does not arrive when difference ends. Difference ends when the mystery is no longer replaced. And that is not an event. It is simply what remains when nothing is held apart.